Good morning. I hope you all had an amazing Monday. Today is Tuesday, May 19th, 2020. Today we're going to be doing our social studies class. Before we begin, let's go over our schedule for the day. Remember today from 10:30 to 11:30, Coach Smith is going to be offering PE. And at 2 o'clock, Miss Umansota is going to be doing art in art club. Please remember to try to do 1 hour of Imagine Literacy and to read every single day. It is super, super important. It is extremely important for you to be reading every single day. If it's on RAS Kids, if it's on Mayon, if it's a book that you have at home, it is very important to make sure you are reading. So remember, if you have any problems logging into any of these websites, please tell your mom to make sure to send me a message, okay? Let's see who's ready for today. Days of the week, get ready. Can you see me right there? Days of the week. 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 There's Sunday and there's Monday. There's Tuesday and there's Wednesday. There's Thursday and there's Friday. And then there's Saturday. Days of the week. 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 What day of the week is it today? Who thinks they know? Miss Carranza said it a few seconds ago. What day of the week is it today? Today is Tuesday. Today is Tuesday. Great job. If today is Tuesday, what was yesterday? What was yesterday? Pay close attention to where my thumbs are pointing to. Yesterday. That means it already what? It already happened. It's in the past. What was yesterday? Yesterday was Monday. Yesterday was Monday. Great job. If yesterday was Monday, today is Tuesday. What will tomorrow be? What will tomorrow be? Tomorrow will be Wednesday. Great job. Say, how do you know? How do you know that tomorrow will be Wednesday? How can we prove that? When I say go, I want you to turn to someone that's sitting close to you, or maybe to yourself, or maybe you can tell me, pretend that I'm listening. Tell me, how do you know that tomorrow will be Wednesday? Remember, what can we do to prove our answer? Ready, go. We're back together in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Great job. I know that tomorrow will be Wednesday because I call myself what day? Tuesday. Great job, because today is Tuesday. I call myself Tuesday. And am I going to count back or am I going to count forward? Forward, because it hasn't happened yet, right? I'm going to call myself Tuesday and I'm going to count forward. How many times? 1 time. Ready, go. Tuesday, Wednesday. Again, go. Tuesday, Wednesday. Great job. That means that tomorrow will be Wednesday. Great job. Go ahead and kiss your brain. Kiss your heart. Say, I'm so smart. Yes, you are. You're all very, very smart. Great. Moving on. Let's go ahead and say our I can statement for today's lesson. Repeat after me. I can draw 3 events from George Washington's life. Okay, today we are going to be talking about a very important person in our country. His name is George Washington. Okay, and we're going to learn about who he is and what he did to be such an important person in our country and in our history. Okay, so let's make sure that when we're watching the video, our eyes are on the screen and our ears are on and we're listening, because for your activity, you are going to be drawing 3 events or 3 things that were important in his life, okay, that happened in his life. 3 events, okay? Let's go ahead and go on to the video. Are you ready? Great.
giving a report on George Washington, the first president of the United States. What was George Washington like when he was young? George Washington was born on February 22nd, 1732, in Virginia. Virginia was one of the 13 colonies, which were ruled by the King of Great Britain. George Washington was taught at home by his father and older brother. His favorite subject was math. When George Washington was 17 years old, he worked as a surveyor. It was his job to keep track of people's land and make maps of different areas. Later, he decided to join the army. How did George Washington become president?
So as we know, George Washington was the very first president of the United States. Right now, our president is Donald Trump, but the very first president we ever had in our history was George Washington, okay? And I want you to pay close attention. How did George Washington become president?
Great Britain and France were fighting over land in North America. George Washington fought on Great Britain's side and led soldiers to fight against the French army. Because he worked as a surveyor, he could draw maps and help soldiers find their way. People respected Washington, and later he was elected as a leader in Virginia's government. Washington and other colonists believed it was unfair they had to pay taxes or money to the British government, but did not get to choose their leaders. People agreed that the colonists should separate from Great Britain. In 1775, colonists and British soldiers started fighting, and the American Revolutionary War began. Washington was chosen to lead the Continental Army, which was the army of the colonies. On Christmas Day in 1776, Washington led soldiers across the Delaware and won an important battle against the British. Later, he and his army camped at Valley Forge, Pennsylvania for 6 months. It was freezing cold, and they didn't have enough food. Many soldiers died. Washington encouraged his troops and helped the colonists believe that fighting for the country's freedom was worth it. The American Revolutionary War finally ended in 1781. Later, in 1787, the Constitution of the United States was written and signed. The Constitution is the set of laws of the United States that explains how the government should be organized and run. The Constitution gives people the right to elect or vote for their leaders. The people elected George Washington to be first president of the United States. What did George Washington do as president? Washington had a big job to do. He chose people with different opinions to help him run the country and be a fair leader. During Washington's presidency, the states passed the Bill of Rights, which are the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. The Bill of Rights describes certain freedoms, such as the right to free speech and religion. Washington set many precedents or examples for future presidents to follow. After Washington was elected, people wondered what to call him. Some people wanted to call him Your Majesty or Your Highness, as though he were a king. But Washington thought a president shouldn't have too much power. So he preferred to be called Mr. President. So Washington set a precedent. The executive leader of the United States will always be known as Mr. or Ms. President. After Washington served his first term as president, he was elected to another term. People wanted him to serve a third term, but he said no.
Oh, no, no.
He thought that different people should have a chance to lead the country. He set a precedent that presidents should only run for 2 terms, for a total of 8 years. After he stepped down as president, Washington returned to his home in Mount Vernon, Virginia. He died on December 14th, 1799. Because Washington helped start the United States, people call him the father of our country. You can find his face on the quarter and on the dollar bill. There are also monuments that honor his memory, and schools that are named after him. Plus, our nation's capital is called Washington, D.C. And of course we have the state of Washington. Washington was a very popular president, and there are many stories about him. But some stories are folk tales or legends that have grown over time. You can learn all about his life by the journals, letters, and notes he left behind.
As you can see, George Washington had a huge impact in our country and the way we live our lives now. Thanks to him, we all have rights that we live by every single day. We all have not just us, but the country has specific rules that we have to follow and honor and respect. So he was a very good president and set a foundation or the basis for other presidents to be as good as he was, right? Now, I want you to think about 3 things that happened in his life. Okay, maybe you want to write about when he was little, or where he worked, or how he was in a battle to fight for the 13 colonies of the United States, or when he was a president, or after he finished being a president, because he served 2 terms. That means that he served first for 4 years, and then he was president again for another 4 years. So he was a president for a total of 8 years. Okay, so I want you to think about 3 things that happened in his life, and for your activity, you're going to draw 3 events, okay, from his life. It can be any. You can choose whichever event you want. I want you to draw 3. So on your paper, you can draw 2 lines, and then you draw the first event, the second event, and then the third event. Okay, 1, 2, 3. It has to be 3 different ones. If you want, you can add a sentence at the bottom to describe your picture. Okay, that would be perfect. Para la actividad de hoy, quiero que después de que vean el video, me dibujen 3 eventos sobre la vida de George Washington. Pueden dibujar 2 líneas para dividir la hoja y hacer 3 dibujos diferentes sobre 3 eventos diferentes. Y pueden agregar una oración para describir la imagen o el dibujo también si gustan, ¿ok? I hope you all learned something new about George Washington. He's the very first president of the United States. He's in our money that we see every single day. So he made a huge impact in our life. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. I will see you tomorrow. I hope you all have an amazing day. Bye.